Welcome to episode 6 of season 5. We're talking about prioritizing your highest purpose. In this episode, we're going to discuss why you need to have a purpose. We're going to compare little p purpose to big P purpose. I'm going to give you 3 ingredients for finding your purpose and tell you how to stay flexible yet accountable with having a purpose driven life. Okay, let's talk about why you need a purpose. Listen, about only 25% of adults know and have a clear sense of their purpose in life. So if you're like, I have no idea what my purpose is, you are not alone. Plus, you're probably an emerging adult, a teenager, a young person who doesn't know yet what they want to do with their life or what their main purpose is for their life. That's okay. Just right now, know that a purpose or having purpose to your day, to your week, to your year, to your life helps you live longer, helps you have better emotional wellness, helps overall your physical health as well. Because when you give up and when you don't have a goal or something that you want to do or get to, like healing or getting through it, you give up. And when you give up, your body believes that there's no hope anymore. And when it believes that there's no hope anymore, mentally, physically, emotionally, disease progresses. So you don't want to give up that hope. You know how it feels emotionally when you give up hope. The despair is heavy on your heart, it's heavy on your mind. It feels horrible. It feels physical in a lot of ways when you've given up hope. That's because it affects your physical tissues. And so if you had a problem, a chronic disease or an acute disease or something, that's going to make a huge difference. And if you're healthy, thank goodness, if you're healthy, it's going to affect you because stress affects you. Your issues are in your tissues. You want to clear any mental and emotional baggage that you can so that it doesn't affect you physically because physical problems affect you emotionally, mentally, and mental and emotional problems are going to affect you physically. We are all one body. And let's include the spiritual realm in there. When you feel more connected, you feel more hope. When you have more faith, you have more hope, more sense of purpose, and that affects you physically. It boosts your immune system, it makes you physically stronger, it makes you more motivated to do things that keep you healthy and happy. And so that's going to make a huge difference. All of these bodies relate to each other. You want to take care of all of them because it affects the rest. Any problems or disease or decompensation of any of your bodies is going to affect the rest of your bodies. So you live longer, you have better emotional wellness, you have better physical health if you have a strong sense of purpose. Then why does only 1/3 of our population have that sense of purpose? People are pretty lost. I think we could attribute modern conveniences to this problem as well. Usually, people had tasks that they had to do to survive that gave them a sense of purpose, even if it is small p purpose. So, before I continue this section about why you need a purpose, I'm going to go ahead to the next section, little p purpose and big P purpose, because I'm referring to this here. Little p purpose is purposes that you have for one task or for one day, maybe for 1 hour, maybe for 1 week or month. You have something that you have to want to accomplish, a goal. You have something that you're doing or project that you're working on. Those are small p purposes because there's something that you could get done and then it passes and then you need another project. Those projects are not nothing. They instill a strong sense of purpose for those moments, but also overall, because you get to know yourself as someone who's productive and can accomplish things and contributes and matters, right? Having a strong sense of purpose reflects that you matter. It's very strongly connected with our sense of worth. So it's going to be very important for your development of your own personal worthiness in this world. having a purpose. I had a friend who was a teacher and he had the summer off every year. And by the end of each summer, he didn't anticipate this. And it hit him really hard by August each year that he didn't really know who he was. It affected him so deeply. He felt bad about himself, like he's not important anymore. He didn't matter anymore. Because he wasn't working in the summer, he was a little bit lost. And that's a pretty extreme example of somebody being off for 2 months and feeling like that. If someone's laid off, they have that issue that's very, very hard for them. A lot of times during the pandemic, people lacked a sense of purpose because each day was the same and they had nothing to do. They had a lot of limits on what they could do and projects that they could do, so they were a bit lost. A lot of people found other projects, like made gym in their backyard or some kind of recreational thing in their backyard, or they learned new recipes to bake or something like that. People found it because we crave it without having something to do, something to think about, something to problem solve. Our mind is idle. And when it's idle, you know what happens. The anxiety comes. So that's another bonus of having a purpose is that it keeps your mind occupied. Our mind has evolved for millions of years to solve problems. So having a sense of purpose gives it something productive to do with added bonuses of making you feel worthy, making you feel good about yourself, making you feel like you contribute to society. And that's all win, win, win. What you do affects what you mean to people, and what you mean to people gets reflected off them. So what I mean is when you're in a relationship with people and you're interacting, how you make them feel, how you have helped them, what they appreciate about you, all of that stuff about you is reflected off in that relationship, in their comments, in their love for you, in their feelings about you, in how they treat you. That all gets reflected back. And that gives you a very strong sense of purpose. So when you are out there in the world doing things, contributing to other people or to communities or to art projects or whatever it is, to some kind of creative project, you have a strong sense of purpose. And that reflection off the people that you're interacting with all of that stuff, gives you a strong sense of self, very robust sense of self. That is essential for feeling good about yourself. And it's easy to do. It's free. You just want to surround yourself with uplifting people and you want to contribute in some way. So you know you're participating, you're engaged in life, and you feel a sense of belonging. So you have connectedness and mattering in a sense of purpose. I was saying the little p purpose is like each day, and the big P purpose is more like an overarching way of being, a commitment that you have to your life. So we have identities, and the identities come from what we give value to, what's important to us. So if it's very important to us to be loyal or to be there for friends when they need us, that becomes part of our identity. We're someone who cares about other people. We're someone who wants to connect and wants to help our fellow humans. That becomes our identity, like I said. And if you have that, you create commitments in your life, you create actions and activities in your life that goes along with that identity and what you want to do. Purpose is all infiltrated with that. Your identity, what you give value to, what you commit to, what you want to move forward in, what you want to create in the world. That's all involved with that big P purpose, those big overarching ways that you want to be in the world. So back to why humans need a purpose. I have one more point here. I already said that it gives you something to focus on, right? So your brain is not idle, it has something to do. And being productive makes you feel like you're contributing and it's connected to worth. I wish it wasn't sometimes. Sometimes we feel like we have to keep producing or we have to keep working to prove our worth. And it's not, that's more of an attached way to see it. We had like overworking to prove your worth. A lot of people who've had history of trauma feel like they have to constantly work to prove that they're worthy. It doesn't really do that, actually. It gets us trying to please people and overworking and overcommitted because we feel like we're not worthy just on our own. And we are. You are worthy just for being you. You only have to be who you are, and you're 100% worth your place in the world. But your soul is craving to do more and be purposeful, to matter to other people, to matter to this world, to make the world a better place than how you found it. I like to think of that. That's a goal of mine. Leave each moment better than you found it. So each of these episodes, I'd like you to start the episode wherever you are. And hopefully, by some of my words or some of the information that I'm sharing, I've brought you to a better place, even if it's minute distance. I brought you to a little bit of a different place, maybe with more hope or more tools that you have in your tool belt or more understanding of yourself, something that you could use to improve, even if it's just a little bit. Pain needs a purpose. So we go through really hard things in our life. Some of it's quite traumatic. And when we have struggles and we have difficulties, and then they don't matter because they're just for nothing, it is almost worse. It's like insult on top of injury. But if you could use your pain and transform it into something that you could do for other people, maybe they've experienced the same pain that you have, and so you know how to help them. Or maybe you help create a law that prevents people from getting hurt in the way that you or a family member got hurt. It's not for nothing. Your suffering happened and you can't take that away. And it's not like good that it happened so that you could do something good with it. No, it's never good that it happened. But if you can do something good from it, because you can't change that it happened, it makes it, it just is, makes it not for nothing. I don't want to say it makes it purposeful, it gives it a reason, nothing like that, because I feel like it didn't happen so this good thing could happen. But what we do after these difficulties and how we can contribute and help other people gives that whatever was precious that was lost, gives that value. And that's important to us to give that value. So, say we lost a family member, say that people kept falling downstairs. And so there was a law that in public buildings, all stairs had to have a railing. And if you were part of creating that law that all stairs in public places had to have a railing, then you felt like your loss meant something. But not the loss that meant something, is the person that you lost meant something and is helping other people. It gives them great value. Remember, I said that anytime you're hurt in life, it's a devaluing of something that you hold precious. When you take any difficulties and use it to contribute to other people's lives, it gives value to what you hold precious. We don't have to value the loss. We don't have to value the trauma or the hurt, but what was lost in those things. That's what gets value, and that's really important. So the more you are involved in a goal-oriented life or a purpose-driven life, the more you're learning, which is awesome for the brain. The more you stimulate that prefrontal cortex, the lower your anxiety and depression are. I think that anxiety and depression have been raising in the last 20, 30 years because we have so many modern conveniences that we don't have to learn as much. We have all these things to do things for us, and we don't have to problem solve. We don't have to learn new things. We don't have to build our skills. So we're disconnected from having skills. We don't think we do. We totally do. We have tons of skills and we have tons of adaptation ability to grow our skills. But we don't have that growth mindset, knowing that we can do that, knowing that we can improve and learn something. And we need that. A sense of purpose or having a purpose or having goals helps us do that. And it also builds self trust. All right. I already covered the big P purpose and the little p purpose, but I think it's important to mention that people get confused about these two kinds. And when they're confused about having to have this big P purpose and every day be enveloped by this big P purpose, that is a myth. You could have little purposes. It could just be that day being thoughtful to a friend who's going through a hard time, maybe bringing a little card or a little bit of candy to let them know that you're thinking about them. A small P purpose is good for you. It helps you just as much as a big P purpose. Don't worry about that till later. And when you are trying to think about that as you're emerging into adulthood and you're trying to think about what is my big P purpose, think about things that you give value to. What's important to you? That could be the basis of your purpose, of your overarching big P purpose. So, say other people are important to you, other people feeling worthy, or other people feeling cared for, or people who are marginalized being centered. Whatever that you feel is important, that could be like the foundation of your big P purpose. So, this is how you find your purpose. You think about that base. What's that base? What's that thing that you value so much that you want it to be? It's integral. It's integral to everything that you want to do in your life. And it's a lens by how you see things because there's a lot of different options and how you could continue to value that, how you could commit to that in your life. There's tons and tons and tons of options, but that's the foundation. You got the foundation, and then you want 3 ingredients to finding your purpose. And think about it as a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram is circles that overlap each other. I don't know. Actually, I should have looked this up before I started recording. I don't know if a Venn diagram is just 2 circles overlapping, but imagine 3 circles overlapping. So 3 circles overlapping all together. In one circle, it's things that interest you. These can be slightly different than things that you value. Things that you value are that foundation, but things that you're interested in, things that give you pleasure, that give you joy, that charge you up, that spark your attention because they're interesting. That's one circle. The other circle is things that you are good at. Start to get to know yourself and the skills that you have and what you're naturally good at or what skills that you enjoy so much to practice and build. Not everyone has skills like out of the blue. People who excel in stuff, they practice, practice, practice. There's that saying that's how did you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. A lot of times when we try something and we're not good at it, we don't want to keep trying it because it doesn't feel good to work hard and be bad at something. It does not feel good to be bad at something, but nobody is good at stuff right away. So keep working on it. But sometimes things are so interesting or it's fun to try. It's fun to build those skills. Sometimes it's not fun to build skills, but sometimes it is fun to build skills. And that is that second circle. Things that you are good at or that you are willing to build your skills in. The third circle is things that people need. So you have things that interest you, things that you're good at, and things that people need. And where all 3 of those circles overlap, that is a good place to start to find your big P purpose. There still could be a lot of different things that is included in there, but it'll zero you in a little bit more about what would be a good thing for you to do in your life? What would be really helpful, useful, purposeful? What would make you feel good? And lastly, how to stay flexible yet accountable with your purpose driven life. You need to have a balance, don't you? We've been talking about this all this time. Being flexible is awesome. It really gets rid of your anxiety because anxiety wants you to be rigid. It's like you need this or not, or you're out of control. And flexibility feels out of control. But when you lean into flexibility and you feel confident in the flexibility, it could be glorious. You get in the flow, you get so much more done. You're not judging yourself as much with that anxiety and that rigidity. So, flexibility is very important for a happy life. That said, like me, I have some ADHD, so I really struggle. And flexibility has kept me very, very productive. But I think there's a downside that I've noticed in myself that sometimes I'm too flexible and I lose the discipline of making things non-negotiable. Like I really struggle with my morning routine. I know having a non-negotiable morning routine is so good for you and I think it would be so good for me. I really 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 want a non-negotiable morning routine and I'm always trying and working hard at it. But my flexibility kicks in and I want that flexibility. Sometimes it works some days and sometimes it doesn't. But what I'm losing at is I'm losing the discipline that I'm trying to capture and I'm trying to lean into. You might be too disciplined and you might need to push to flexibility. You might be too flexible and need to push to discipline. You have to know what way you're leaning so that you could rebalance it. So people come to my office all the time. Some people I have to tell them to relax. Some people I have to tell them to get motivated and move forward. We are not all the same. We cannot all take the same advice. That wouldn't make sense at all. You want to have some balance that you're accountable to your goals. You set a goal and you stay committed to that goal. But that doesn't mean if you're like, this goal doesn't really work for me anymore, I want to change it. And that doesn't mean because you don't feel like doing the hard stuff. It means that it's just is not a good fit anymore. Sometimes we're wrong about the goal we want, and sometimes things change that enlightens us to that goal doesn't make sense anymore. We want to switch it. If we consciously change it, then it's okay. If we consciously change what the goal is or when something is due or whatever we consciously change, that flexibility is going to be really helpful. In fact, I think sometimes we have to decline a goal, like decide like I don't want to do that anymore. That is not a good fit for me and get it off your list. You don't have to continue to do something because you made a commitment when it doesn't make sense to keep doing it. In fact, I make a stop doing list. And I made a video about this, a stop doing list. You can find it on the blog post that goes with this episode. Make a stop doing list. List all of the things that you do in a day and think about how many things are nonsense things that don't serve you, don't serve your purpose, aren't fun, aren't pleasurable. But you think you have to do them, but you really don't have to do them. And cross them out. Make a stop doing list. Make sure you're enjoying your purpose. If not, change it. I know we have to do things we don't want to do sometimes. That's connected with a lot of other stuff that may not be connected with your purpose. Sometimes your purpose is you have a very strong purpose and you want to do something and it includes some hard or tedious tasks that you don't really want to do, but overall you want it done. I'm not talking about that. Overall, make sure you're enjoying it. If you're consciously choosing it, make sure you're enjoying it. So that's it. That's all I got for you. I am so glad that you're here and that you're listening. I gave you chock full of things in this episode. I probably will add a lot more in the blog post that goes with this episode, a whole list of what to do when you're looking for your sense of purpose. And don't worry if you don't have that big P purpose. Get some small P purposes just for today. Just get a purpose for today. Just get a goal or a task or something that you want to get done. Get yourself on the other side of that and celebrate that you did it. That's all for episode 6. Wow. This series that goes along with the book is almost done. We're going to keep doing the podcast with interviews. So keep subscribing, keep listening. I'm going to have a lot out here for you that's going to help you continue to heal from your anxiety and depression. And overall, there are going to be tons of tips for your brain and body and spirit for overall wellness. All right. Thank you so much. I hope that you comment, you share, you subscribe, and don't forget, always leave me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. That's really going to make a huge difference in how many people get better with these tools. Just a reminder, in this episode, I mentioned why you need a purpose. I distinguished little p purpose from big P purpose. I gave you 3 ingredients for finding your purpose, and I mentioned how to stay flexible yet accountable within your purpose-driven life. Okay, the next and last episode that goes along with the book is prioritizing creativity. How fun is that? I'm glad I left that fun pleasure thing for last, because we came to Earth to create. There's so many different ways we could do that. A million unlimited ways that we could create. And we're going to talk about how it helps you bring happiness into your life. That is coming up. And so you could read chapter 5, section 7, prioritize creativity. And in the meantime, as always, hang out with me on YouTube and TikTok at Dr. Jodi.